Welcome, everyone, to Rising Out of the Chrysalis with Marisa Grace, where we share life stories of struggle and triumph, not only of my own life experiences, but also through the experiences of my guests as a way to help you have breakthroughs and find hope in your own life. I'm Marisa Grace, and today my special guest is Joeann Crafton. I am so excited to have her here, and she has a very special story of her own that she even has written a book about. And without further ado, welcome Joeann to my podcast. So tell us who you are and tell us about this wonderful story of yours.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm Joeann Crafton, and my pen name is Sophia James. I had to write with a pen name because of the delicate subject matter, which is sexual abuse, that I wrote about my story. So I wrote my story because the Lord told me to do so. And so I had worked on it for 8 years. And finally, I thought I was done, and we went through the editing process, and I had a friend help me, and she really got to the nuts and bolts and really made it, important, but, to touch the important things so that people can understand that you can go through really hard and terrible things, but still have a good quality life. And I have to tell you that if I'd have, if you'd have told me that I'm doing what I'm doing now, back then, I would have left you off the planet because I didn't have anything positive in my life. I didn't get, I wasn't healed. And so it's in that healing journey that we learn that we get talents and abilities. And, these things are to help other people as well. And so now I have a huge desire to help people who've been through sexual abuse, rape, domestic violence. Those are my absolute, the majority of my story is riddled with abuse, neglect, abandonment, sexual abuse, rape, and domestic violence. And now that I've healed, I have a huge desire to help other people heal. And so I wrote the book. It's called Taking a Different Path, Finding Joy in the Journey. And my workbook for that is right now at the publishers, getting ready to get released now. And so I wrote the book is my story of what I went through. And I didn't get, it's not deep, it's not intense. I just touch on all the things that I've gone through so that you can have some idea of what I went through and find some commonalities. And then the workbook is created so that you can take the journey through the healing process. And so I'm really excited to share that with people because now that I've healed, I feel like it's my job to help other people heal.
That is wonderful. So can you tell us just a little bit about that journey of what you went through, just touch base so we understand some of your struggles? And then I would like to learn exactly what path you decided to take to go through your healing process.
Okay, so my story starts at the age of 5 when the abuse started happening. And until I was about 49, it's just been a journey of healing. So the first thing I did was I went through a book and workbook class called The Wounded Heart by Dr. Dan Bielander. That is specifically for sexual abuse victims. And it really got to the core of the abuse. And it really got to where I started healing and not being angry and hostile with the world. And then I went into exhaustive counseling, and then I really started to see the healing. And I forgave my offenders. I forgave my mother, my aunt, and my grandmother, who all knew about the abuse and didn't help us children. And I can literally say that I have forgiven the people that hurt me. And I don't want a relationship with them, but I do hope that they can find the same peace that I have found. And that's huge. It's just huge.
Oh, absolutely. So to share a little bit with my personal story, I too had experienced sexual abuse as a young child. And I think the hardest thing really is forgiving yourself, because as children, you form this belief that it was your fault, right? Because you don't understand what is happening. Depending on what age it happens, children can't process. So what they do is they substitute and they try to rationalize what has just happened, and they end up blaming themselves. There must be something within me that is distorted or wrong, so I caused this, to happen to me. And you end up blaming yourself, like, maybe I attracted this into my life. And I think, realizing that it was not your fault and forgiving yourself for believing that it was one of the hardest things. And the second thing was forgiving the people that hurt you, because for me, I don't know about you, but for me, the hardest thing was trying to understand, did that person understand my pain that they put me through? And the pain lasted for so long, right? Because you suffer for a very long time, for your whole entire life. Like, it's not something that just happens to you, you can heal. It stays with you your whole entire life. And that suffering that you go through, because, like, do they understand that pain that they cause? That was like my biggest thing, are they ever going to be able to realize the years of pain, and I finally, got over that it wasn't up to me, that it was their own karma that they'll have to deal with. And yes, eventually they will know what that pain that they caused you, they will come to find out what that is, but it's not up to you to bring justice to them with that pain.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
So was that something you also went through with that, like the personal struggle of blaming yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I did. I thought that it was my fault. I thought that I had bad blood running through my veins. I thought that I was just a bad kid. And so, yeah, completely. And yeah, forgiving yourself is a huge struggle because they make you feel like it's your fault as well. So, there's blame and guilt and shame that we're left with, which are such huge burdens for children or anybody, period.
Oh, it is. And it's very damaging, to even adults. I deal with a lot of clients that have experienced abuse, even as an adult. And, it takes away your self-love, your self-worth. All these things are taken from you. It's like your life gets sucked out of you.
Yeah.
That, any self-worth, you don't, doing anything in your life requires that you believe in yourself, that you somehow have some self-worth. And by taking that away from you, it kind of leaves you lifeless. You're kind of just walking around like empty inside.
Agreed.
Well, now, was there
Yeah.
anything else, like, for you that you experienced that made you feel something different?
There's a lot of self-hatred as well along with that. And it leaves you feeling less than human, I think,
Yeah.
just degraded, and the weight that we carry as victims and not even realizing that it's not our fault. I mean, I happen to believe that I was really, really blessed. I had a voice inside of my head, and I don't know, where everybody stands, but I believed it to be the Holy Spirit. And he kept telling me that I was a victim. And that helped me to let a lot of things go that I think other people might not have been able to let go. But the other thing is too, is I was the oldest child in our family, which left me with a huge obligation to protect the younger kids in our family. And so I took that pretty seriously. I don't know if you had a chance to look at my book, but at the age of 12, I reported the family, the pedophile in the family, and testified against him in court by myself. And I lost most of my family at that time because they were keeping the secret, and I embarrassed them by telling.
You know, that's the other thing, right? The people, the adults that you trust, right? That you're counting on to protect you, they end up failing
Yeah.
you. And then what happens is we become the adult, right? We have to like grow up really fast, and we have to take on this role of being the adult, the responsible person. And you know, when you do that, it puts a burden on us, like this weight on our shoulders. And then it carries us through our adulthood, like everything that we do, you know, we are the responsible one. Like, we have to take care of this. I have to take care of this because nobody else will. And we form these beliefs, you know, that nobody can take care of this problem like I do, because you know, if they do, they're going to be irresponsible.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that I had to work through as well. I don't have to be responsible all the time, you know, but as children, once you pick up that role, that's what the belief that you program into yourself, and the belief that runs into your adulthood, into your relationships too.
Yep. It's a long-term struggle. It is.
Absolutely.
To, you know, stay in your own lane and say, this isn't my, I always do this, not my circus, not my monkeys thing. I just literally have to have a mantra. This is not my circus, not my monkeys, and it's not my responsibility. And, you know, I'm trying to be very concrete about that, you know.
Well, that's a great way to have your own mantra, and to just remind yourself that, yeah, it's not your responsibility to take on somebody else's burden, right? To be responsible for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about this workbook that you have in the process to help individuals work through this.
I'm really excited about it. You know, as we were talking earlier, I am also a coach, and I specialize in sexual abuse, domestic violence, rape, and, you know, those type of situations. And I want, again, you know, there's a burning desire in me to help people to get out of, you know, the pain that we feel because of the abuse that we've been through. And so many times we're conditioned, you know, to just be quiet and you know, just deal with it and just, you know, oh, get over it. And, you know, it's not that easy. The thing is that so many people don't understand is you can't suppress these memories. You can't suppress the abuse. You can't hide it. You can't run from it. You can't drug it. You can't alcohol it, because it's going to affect you in every part of your life. And
Absolutely.
so I look at it, I look at it like this. Have you ever cleaned out a swimming pool? So you know that you have to suck out all of the dirty water and all of the debris, and then you have to scrub it down. You have to add more water, and you have to cleanse it and cleanse it and cleanse it. And then you have to suck out the water again to make sure that you got all of the, you know, the walls clean and the bottoms clean, and you have to change the filters. Well, that's what healing is like. Because if you don't, then all of that poisonous, toxic water, the circumstances, the situations that we've been through, the pain, you know, and all of the abuse is going to affect every aspect of your life. Just like that muddy pool, you know, there's going to be frogs in there and, you know, all kinds of different things and germs, lots and lots of germs. And that's what, you know, pain does to us. Left running in our bodies, it is going to damage us, cripple us. It is going to leave us, you know, bereft of the joy and the happiness that we deserve and that we're striving for. And so we have to clean it out. We have to get it out. And just like when you have a wound, you always clean it and then you dry it and you dress it to protect it, right? Well, that's what we have to do with those memories, because left unattended, they're just going to wound us further and
Oh,
continue.
absolutely. And I
It's
love
like
your
a keeping
analogy of like cleaning the pool, because that's exactly what it is. And when you don't clean the pool, what it becomes, the water becomes toxic and moldy and all this stuff grows on it.
yeah,
And that's what happens with our
infected.
bodies. We become sick when we don't deal with the emotions. They become trapped in our body and it causes sickness within our body.
Absolutely. And it can affect you sexually, emotionally, mentally, physically, psychologically. I think there's another one. I think I forgot it, but you probably know all of them too. And
Yeah,
and
it
but people don't
affects you all
understand that.
realms of your physical body, your emotional body, your soul and spiritual body, they all, and your energetic body. Now, these are
Yeah,
things that we kind of overlook, but it affects your energetic body.
yeah,
Definitely any relationship going forward that you have with another partner, it will affect that relationship. It will affect your
yeah,
sex life. It will affect your life, if you're going to have children, that relationship, and also the pain that you carry inside. If you're a woman, if you don't deal with your emotions, those things can get passed on to your children. There's like a deep connection between moms and the embryos that you carry inside of your body. They're feeling what you're feeling.
yeah.
Unconsciously, they're observing the feelings that you're having. And this is why they say, trauma from your past gets carried on. It's in your genes, it's in your DNA. And that's one thing, people should also think about is you want to heal that trauma because you don't want to pass it on to the next generation
Right.
as
And that
well.
becomes a generational curse.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Say that again.
That becomes a generational curse. You're cursing your family with those emotions and those feelings. I have
Yes.
another analogy that I use. Imagine you're making your pathway to your life and you have bricks, and those bricks all represent circumstances, situations, emotions, feelings in your life. And say one brick is that rape brick. I was raped by my ex-husband multiple times, many times. And say I didn't like that brick, so I throw it out. But each brick is needed, because if you build a brick pathway and you leave an empty spot where a brick was damaged brick, then the bricks around it are going to tip and they're going to tilt and they're going to cause a tripping hazard. So therefore, you're creating an unsafe pathway to walk on. And this is your journey, this is your path, and you don't want to do that. And so one of the things I talked about in the book is embracing everything you've been through. And to an abuse victim, this sounds wrong. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the thing is again, is if you aren't addressing it, if you're not looking at it, if you're not purposely going after it to heal it, then you're leaving it, that toxicity, the pool or the wound, you're leaving it unclean to affect you further. And so, we've got to make friends with these things. We've got to accept them so that we can cleanse the tripping hazard, so that we no longer trip on it in the future and it doesn't affect us in that negative way.
Oh, absolutely. One of the hardest things I find with a lot of victims is just being able to speak about it for the first time. They're so scared to even say it out loud. And what they don't realize is once you say it out loud, even if you're by yourself, go in the bathroom, close the door, just say it out loud. Because what that does, it releases, something inside of you that allows you to speak, to admit this has happened to me. And it's
It's a
okay for me to
validation
talk
thing.
about it. But it's always the hardest thing to do the first time you do it.
I remember that day so well when I finally confessed what happened to my counselor. It's a validation thing. It's validating your emotions, your feelings, your memories. It's validating that. And if we only had a clue of how freeing that will be, and even if they don't feel comfortable with it, say it into a pillow. Just get it out, like you said.
Absolutely. You know, even if you just, like I said, in where nobody's around, just saying it out loud, you know, where you could hear the words, not saying it inside of your head, because you're probably doing that all the time anyway. But saying it out
Yeah.
loud where you could hear yourself, where you could hear those words, it is a relief. It will, you know, give you a breakthrough to continue and do the healing. Because if you don't do that, if you're afraid of speaking up about it or opening up, mentioning, and I've had clients who were just afraid to mention or say anything, but the indications were all there. But if you could just voice that, record it maybe on your phone and listen back to those words just for yourself, that can be very powerful in getting you started on your healing journey for sure.
Yeah. It's an admittance of what happened, and a lot of people don't want to admit it, that it's happened. But the reality is admitting it and confessing it is the first step to the journey, the realization of, you know, I was a victim, I was victimized. And, you know, then not camping in that space. That's one of the things I talk about is it's okay to go back there to visit so that we can seek that healing and that clarification, but we can't camp there. That's where depression sits in.
Right.
You know, when we camp in our pain, you know, then, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're moving forward through the path and, you know, of healing.
Oh, absolutely. So, Joanne, tell us where, you know, they could find your book. And I know you're publishing your workbook. So in the future, where could somebody reach out to you and get a hold of your book and find out more about your story?
You can find me on Facebook with my name is Joeann Crafton. I also have an author page, Sophia James, and there's a way to contact me there via email. I'm pretty sure there's a button to email me, or just through Messenger on Facebook. And I would be happy to send a book out and even sign it if you'd like. And I have them in stock, and at first it was cheaper to get them on Amazon, but now it's cheaper to get them through me. Oh, anyway. And I like to save, I'm very thrifty, so I like to save people money. That's important. So.
That's awesome. And I'll have a link to Joanne's page below a video where you could reach out to her and order her book. Joanne, thank you so much for sharing this story. And I hope that her story inspires you. And if you are going through this painful experience, feel free to reach out to one of us. We can try to help you or lead you in a way where you can get help. So don't hesitate to reach out for any type of help, even if you just want to talk or a 5-minute talk. Sometimes they just need to listen, right? You know, somebody to listen and not give advice. That's helpful too. So thank you so much. Until next time, from my heart to yours, we'll see you soon.